Hello, and welcome to our multi-part series on mastering data and insight strategies to help drive growth for B2B marketers. I'm Robin Kroll, and I lead the data and insights practice at Goose Digital. And Maria.
I'm Maria Rubio, and I'm the Data and Insights Manager here at Goose.
Welcome to the conversation, Maria. So, ripped from the headlines, or really, Maria, from conversations that you and I have regularly with our clients and prospects, we've identified a series of topics that seem to be really top priorities for B2B marketers who are feeling really challenged in delivering data-driven reporting. So to kick off our series, we thought we would start with talking about lead to revenue reporting, which I think was sort of number one on the list of things that B2B marketers are challenged with. So we're going to share some of the reasons why marketers are finding delivering this type of reporting difficult. And then we're going to share an example of a fairly standard lead to revenue report that Maria and I have developed and we're able to deliver to most of our clients who have found it enormously helpful as they're trying to measure this incredibly important KPI. So before we dive in, I just want to give you a quick background on Goose Digital. So we are a full-service digital marketing agency. We develop and execute marketing strategies across all channels. So whether we're looking at paid channels, organic, looking at outbound email communications, and we focus on helping our clients maximize the benefits of their marketing technology investments. So that will include the marketing automation platforms, CRM, and any of the different marketing channels that they may be using. We support our clients in driving growth. So in some cases, that growth might mean net new business. And in other cases, it means really maximizing the lifetime value of existing customers. And we work with clients across multiple industries, insurance, tech, manufacturing, not-for-profit, in both Canada and the US. So let's go to today's topic. So what are marketers telling us? They're telling us that proving ROI is a major challenge. Marketers are also seeing that this challenge is becoming increasingly difficult. So it's been more difficult to do this measurement this year than it has been in past years. And that's probably going to continue. We've also been able to see that about 85% of B2B marketers have said that connecting marketing performance to business outcomes is a major challenge. Now, there's lots to really unpack here. Why is this becoming more challenging as time goes on? It's probably going to be a combination of what's being asked of marketers. We know that marketers who are largely tasked with driving marketing campaigns and reporting on the effectiveness just of those campaigns are now being asked to report on things further down funnel, and they're also being asked to support activities further down funnel. We also know that there is an ever-increasing breadth and depth of data, and there's so many more platforms. And so I know, Maria, you're going to talk about that in just a moment. And I think the other thing that we really want to talk about is, the two sides of that coin. So we've got the marketing performance KPIs, which are going to range from things like impression shares, clicks, conversions, and then the business outcomes, right? So, in many cases, they're being asked to report on really the bottom of funnel business outcomes, which is going to be revenue, closed won opportunities. And it's often difficult to go ahead and connect all those different pieces. And I think some of the things that can really help in that conversation is looking at the strategy and looking at what that particular outcome is. In a lot of marketing strategies, you're going to have lead gen, but you're also going to have brand awareness. So what is that outcome? That business outcome from a brand awareness campaign, which is going to be different from a lead gen campaign. As I mentioned, marketers are, what they're expected to do is increasing. So, how can they prove that they are contributing to sales, which not necessarily going to be only on that final KPI, which is going to be revenue, but being able to report on the impact on moving leads through the funnel till they get to that final that final revenue metric, which we know is really the holy grail for many of senior leaders, but there are other things in there. And then the other thing is looking at some other KPIs in addition to ROI, something like return on ad spend, which is really allowing marketers to be able to quantify the level of their marketing investment on driving that lead for a conversation and being able to report on the business and the revenue based on what they have directly driven from their different marketing channels. So lots of different things in there. So let's go back to maybe that first bigger question, Maria, and try to address, so why is it really difficult to connect those marketing KPIs with the sales KPIs?
Well, Robin, there's a few reasons why this could be presented as a challenge, especially for the marketing team. So one of the main challenges is that the data is in different MarTech platforms. So you will have data from Google Ads to LinkedIn to your Map platform, and then you have to bring all of that together to make sense of it. Another reason that this could be quite a challenge is that you need to be able to understand the data and actually derive insights from it so you can actually create a story with it. So make more sense of just the net KPIs and numbers that you have. And lastly, it's sometimes actually creating the reports and the dashboards, because the challenge might be between having knowledge or a technical gap in the team, or sometimes the marketing team just doesn't have the time to actually or the resources to actually invest into creating all of this because they're very much focused on the strategy and implementation tactics of their marketing plan.
Yeah, those all really, really resonate, and they're in line with a lot of those conversations. And that last point's about the insights and the action, right? So if you can't connect the dots, if you can't tell the story, if you don't have the resources who can do those two things above, how are you going to be able to communicate that back to the business and be able to help marketers overcome that really big challenge, which is really connecting those those marketing KPIs to the sales KPIs? Definitely a challenge. And one of the things, Maria, that we've been able to help our clients with is putting together those reports using visualization tools that help tell the story, that really connect the dots. And what we're going to do now is we're going to share an example of a report that you and I have built out for some of our clients, which allow them to really tell that full story. We build reports in multiple different platforms, Maria, right? I think we've got we build them out in CRM platforms, and I know you've done a few of them in Excel as well. So we've learned to be really nimble, right? Because nobody's data is perfect, and not everybody has all the platforms available to them. So we're going to share an example here of this is really a lead to revenue report, which helps them. We've seen have helped our marketers tell the story. So a couple of the KPIs that you'll see here is we talked about that one before, the return on ad spend. So the concept of the return on ad spend is being able to look at how much was actually spent in the different ad platforms and the revenue that was generated here. So just trying to show this properly. And then all the other KPIs that kind of align here. So impression clicks, cost per click, conversions, etc. So this type of dashboard is something that would be really valuable for a marketer to be able to share with senior leadership, because it really does tell the story. Being able to say in this example from this Google lead gen campaign where $6,000 were spent in ad spend and $40,000 was driven in actual revenue. And that 2.7 return on ad spend means that for every dollar a marketer went ahead, so the marketer got, that dollar from their marketing budget, they were able to generate $2.7. Where in some cases in this brand awareness campaign, there isn't a break even, but back to the point that I mentioned earlier, you have different strategies. So for a brand awareness campaign, it might not be about the return on ad spend. It might be about the impressions and the clicks. Part of that same revenue, that lead to revenue reporting, is marketers being able to, Maria, you talked about telling the story. So how can they tell the story about what was driven by the marketing campaign? So being able to articulate the by channel, how many leads were driven. Of those leads, how many are marketing qualified? How many are sales qualified? Opportunities, how many of them turned into customers? Again, while that holy grail is definitely on that closed won revenue, from a marketer's perspective, the value they're driving is first in identifying, is there a qualified lead that's coming out of my direct traffic versus my paid social? Which channels are actually driving more of those values along the sales funnel? And that gives marketers the ability to go back to the leadership team and saying, we are driving value, and we're driving value at different stages within that lead funnel, and being able to say how many qualified leads they're actually driving. And then being able to report on deals, looking at deals, based on, their stage, understanding both the quantity of those deals and being able to quantify them. So how much do they represent in potential revenue? And then, of course, that very bottom of funnel type of KPI, being able to report back from the marketing initiatives on the number of closed won deals, and of course that sales revenue was driven, that contributes to that that final KPI, which marketers want to be able to report back on. So there's a lot of data in here, but what we found is that this is a really great set of reports and a dashboard that are going to support marketers as they deal with that really primary challenge of trying to report on the impact of their marketing investment and report an ROI, and be able to overcome that increasing challenge that they're being asked to deal with.
Yeah, that's, I think, another great
So
point
we talked
for
about a lot
the.
of things here, Maria. Yeah,
Sorry, I'll give it a couple seconds. Okay.
go ahead.
Uh, I think another great point for dashboards and reporting tools such as this is that it actually gives the marketing team real-time data that they can actually action pretty quickly and pivot depending on whatever strategy. As you well said, it could be pretty different, and depending on the targets that you have and measurements that you're actually following, you can make data-driven decisions quickly, much quicker than before.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So what are some of our takeaways, since we've shared a lot of information here?
Yeah. Okay. So I think we have five key takeaways after going through all of that. So definitely the first one will be that marketers are more and more responsible and more accountable nowadays for the lead revenue process, much more so than ever before. And that's, of course, what has presented a little bit of the challenge. Another important thing to remember is that it is possible to overcome the challenge of connecting different MarTech technologies, even without a CRM, as we've talked about. We've even used spreadsheets in some of the cases, so it is really possible to work with that. Another key point is that sales, of course, remains to be key in the whole process. And it's not only important for closing deals in itself, but also for the process of data capturing and entry that will be very important, of course, for the remaining of the pipeline. Another important point is that understanding the customer's journey is important for lead tracking and process and optimization. Of course, as what we've talked a couple times, it really informs the strategy and whatever eight changes that might happen along the way. And lastly, that reporting doesn't really have to be overly complex. At the end, what we're really looking for is to be able to derive insights and make data informed decisions. And we can do that in very different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for summarizing all of that, Maria. And hopefully, everybody's found this really useful, and we'd love to be able to continue the conversation. Stay tuned for our next topic coming up.
Thank you, Robin.